Hi, Minster here. I've made this video to refresh your memory about Prolif Discharge. What triggered me to make this video was the future changes posted in Grinding Gear Games 2.3 manifesto. At the time of making this video, these changes are not set in stone as final changes, but are very likely to happen. In the manifesto, the Marauder Juggernaut Ascendancy class had an interesting change. Whenever you gain one endurance charge, gain up to your maximum of endurance charges instead. When examining the wording closer, up to your maximum strikes me as strange. This might not be the same as gaining your maximum. Up to could mean variation, a random amount gained, but no more than your maximum. Gaining a lot of charges is a huge deal for Discharge, since you lose all after casting the spell. Filling back up would need intricate ways to make that happen quickly. With this change, recharging will be a lot easier. You just need to gain a couple charges and you're full, ready to set off another discharge. Another change mentioned reads, the Elemental Proliferation support gem will now have a radius of 16 instead of 12. That's a big buff. Not like the good old days with a radius of 30, but might be good enough. These two changes go hand in hand. Discharge by itself is good enough to kill everything that moves. However, I love to play burn builds, so I will try my best to pursue that proliferating build niche. I'll start off in this video with the classic Riparian style discharger. The discharger that discharges manually. After that I will talk about the triggered discharge, the automated cast with cast on crit. The manual cast discharge has many forms. These include life-based, non-crit, life-based crit and energy shield crit. The life-based non-crit version was originally very clunky, not only manually casting flammability, but also manually casting enduring cry to charge up. In them days that time was still well spent, since you could blow up half the screen and proliferate ignite the other half. Nothing would stay alive. We're talking a 3-shot skill rotation here. 1 curse, 2 charge up, 3 discharge. It was also extremely effective against bosses, since a monster with low fire resist would proliferate his burn onto the boss, overriding the boss burn that would be much smaller because of the superior fire resistance. My wording is not entirely correct here, since the smaller ignites would still be running in the background, and if a monster has 2 ignites, a big one with a short duration and a small one with a long duration, the smaller would take over once the bigger one stops ticking. The skill tree starts in the Marauder, walks through the Templar AoE and ends up in the Witch AoE. Elemental Reflect is a big topic for this build, since the damage can be skilled really high with a lot of endurance charges. Non-crit versions can even take precautions by taking the skill node Resolute Technique to make sure there are no unlucky deaths due to a crit reflect. A lot of resources are spent on chance to ignite to make sure you're not shooting blanks. With the new arrival of Blasphemy, you can skip 1 step in the 3-shot skill rotation mentioned earlier. No more cursing flammability. If a second curse is used for Warlord's Mark, you can skip step 2 in the 3-shot skill rotation mentioned above. No more enduring cry needed to charge up all the time. You'd still walk around with a loose enduring cry skill gem, just as a backup plan and to start up. So what remains of the skill rotation is just a discharge. During testing I'll still frequently use enduring cry, since the new Juggernaut changes are not active. The proliferation is still small, so it will work significantly better after the Prophecy patch. In the Prophecy League, these unique rings, called Comb Sign, might be buffed after completing a quest. It will be interesting to see how good they will be. You do not have to use only endurance charges. Frenzy charges can be used as well for more damage. Cold damage can be turned into fire by a support gem and by a skill node called Avatar of Fire. Avatar of Fire will also make sure you only have to worry about fire reflect and no cold or lightning. Jewels will be vital to fine-tune your build, especially for crit versions. It's easy to roll them, since discharge counts as fire, lightning and counts as a cold gem. For example, increased critical strike chance with a cold skill will count even though you do only fire damage. A lot of uniques that manipulate your charges are handy. This false protector for example, but be careful when scaling your charges and your crit. You might gain a lot of unexpected damage. Always make sure your resistances are maxed out. A gizmo armor like false protector is not ideal when you get the buff from Juggernaut that doubles the armor gained from your chest slot. An Aster plate is a much better defensive wise choice. A downside is the difficulty at getting it socketed with a lot of blue collars. Level up a wide array of gems, so you always have options. Good red gems are fire penetration, iron will and increased burning damage. Right, it's time to try out some critting. Power charges can be gained with Assassin's Mark, flammability will be dropped. Flasks have to be changed as well. A crit flask will be needed to maximize the crit chance while using the least amount of crit resources. Another nice flask to use is a unique jar that spawns worms. These worms can be used to gain off charges and they can proliferate ignite, and it's a very neat trick for boss fighting when there are no adds. Another way to scale damage is by shocking targets, either by power charges, so you deal lightning damage, when crit you will shock, or using a foul lightning trap. Another way to discharge is by automation. In my opinion, it has the highest potential of all versions. Highest potential, although it does require a lot of careful build planning. Here you see a Cyclone version with cast on crit. Hopefully, the faster charge gaining will make this version shine. Okay, back to the manual cast crit version. This live crit version looks an excellent choice for starting the new Prophecy League. It's cheap and it has very little requirements item wise. There are still many things to test, Elemental Reflect for example. It cannot handle Elemental Reflect map. A way to solve that is by taking a skill node called Foul Pact. It makes your leech instant, so when you take reflect damage from multiple monsters you will stay alive. Alive because each damage and leech mechanic is handled in succession for each monster. That is done individually, so before taking damage of a monster you will have healed up on the previous one. This is all done at rapid succession, until the damage and leech is resolved at the last monster of the pack. Foul Pact negates life regeneration, and that is a huge downside for life-based builds. It fits energy shield builds a lot more. However, starting at the Marauder, you're very far away from the energy shield side, so it's not very efficient skill point wise to go CI for example. Foul Pact does not save you from one-shots, so if you scale up your damage too high, with shock for example, you will still kill yourself. I did learn a few important things in these Elemental Reflect maps. If you use a reflect defensive item, like maximum resist from a Rise of the Phoenix Shield or a unique ring, you will not die by a single rare with the Elemental Reflect mod. And that's good to know. The build just has to reroll maps with the Elemental Reflect mod. That was it for this video. I hope the information will be useful to you. Next video will be about a budget live crit version for starting the new Prophecy League. There will be only 3 requirements for that build. A weapon that can be used for Whirling Blade, crit flask, and last, 1 unique when your damage is scaled up. Then you will need a unique shield, Rise of the Phoenix, or a unique ring, Sibyl's Lament to counter reflect. 3 easy to get items, perfect for a new league. Thanks for watching and see you.